So I got some pretty good settling when I made this first suet block, so I am revisiting this and I'm going to give it a go again. That's it. They are enjoying it, so I think I found the winning way to do it. Welcome back to my kitchen. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I wanted to try making some suet blocks for my chickens. I picked up a kit off of Marketplace from somebody who was, I don't know if they were just getting out of it or they just didn't want to do it anymore, I don't know, but they were just giving away suet making supplies. Pretty much that just means I got some of these little containers, which you could probably just get from the store if you buy your own suet blocks, or neighbors, and a little bit of like bacon grease. I left the bacon grease downstairs, so I'm not going down to get it. But I do have this old lard that I had going bad. I tried to use it in one of my other videos and found out it didn't smell all that great. So this will be a perfect use for it, so there will be no waste going on, and the chickens will appreciate the extra fat that will provide good energy for them. So winter is a good time to make these because they hold up. If you're doing this for wild birds, winter is a good time because it's hard for them to find food. Into spring. So generally they say you could put them out in the winter and spring, but to not put them out when the temperature gets above 70 because it'll go rancid. Those are things I didn't know. They also suggest not using homemade fats for it because the fats will go bad faster. I think that's a storage issue. I am going to make these and use them right away. If I was going to store them, I would store them in the freezer. So I'm not really going off of a recipe right now. I can link to, where did I look? I looked on the Farmer's Almanac and they had about 3 different recipes, and it seemed to be about equal amounts of fat to whatever your mix-ins are going to be. So I have about a cup of fat here. Peanut butter is considered something that you can mix in as well. So I'm going to get a knife and I'm going to put in, I have 1 cup of lard here. I'm going to put in 1 cup of peanut butter, and then I've got some mix-ins that I can add into it. So let's get going. The only reason why I'm putting peanut butter in is because we went to, I don't know if you have a grocery outlet in your area. We call them gross outs, by the way. If you have one, sometimes they'll have peanut butter on sale. Like we got this is a pound of peanut butter, I think. Oh no, yeah, it's a pound of peanut butter. We got it for like 27 cents because it was going to expire. Smells fine. It expired in January. I'm sure it's still fine. But it was a flavor and a brand I have never tried before. They claim it tastes great, but it has like weird ingredients in it. So it wasn't a peanut butter I wanted to personally try, but I thought that for making chicken food, this would be perfectly acceptable. So again, I'm going to put in a cup of peanut butter. Then we are going to melt this together until it is nice and melted so I can put the mix-ins in. It's actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I had it in my head that it was going to be a little bit more difficult than it was. I think it was because I wasn't sure I had all the ingredients. If I have all the ingredients, generally it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine, I can do that. When I have to make trips to the store to get extra things and things I don't normally buy, and yeah, it's, at that point it just starts becoming more complicated. So I think I blew it out of proportion in my head, just because I hadn't brought those things up from downstairs. And I do have, I went to the store, I did eventually go and get a little suet block holder, so that's just hanging in the coop for them, and they've really enjoyed it. Once they figured out what it was. I mean, it took them a little while to figure it out, but it's just hanging there, so it's good. It's kind of a bit of an enrichment thing for them, because then when they peck on it, it swings away from them and they got to kind of catch it. And okay, I think you can put coconut oil in as well if you want something that's a little more firm. I'm hoping that this is not going to be too runny, because my lard, I feel like the lard is a little softer than other fats. But one of the recipes did call for lard. It specifically said in the recipe to not substitute. Okay, well I think I got that about as clean as it's going to get. So let's move over to the stove. And I'm just going to do this low and slow. I don't want to burn anything, or I don't think it needs to be boiled either. Okay, while that's coming up to temperature, I did go through and manually crack some corn. I don't have a corn mill or a corn cracker or grain mill or any of those things, and I made the mistake of buying whole corn. So I am going to start probably sprouting this in the summer and giving it to the chickens, but in the meantime I don't want to give it to them whole because I don't know how much grit they have in the coop area in their run. So I went and cracked it up. I've just got one of those behemoth, this thing's heavy, it's just a stone mortar and pestle. I do everything in this, but I figured you didn't need to hear me pounding away at corn. It was kind of noisy. It was amusing though. Corn kept springing out all over the place. And then here I have, it is flaxseed, sesame seed, and there's some lentils in here, and I think I also have some rye grain. So I don't know if you can see that. Some rye grain, and I think I have some wheat berries in there. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember what I put in here. So this is not something that you can just go to the store and buy. This was, we got someone's food storage. They were getting rid of it. It was, it had met the 20-year life or whatever. You can smell that the flax has gone off because it's got that weird smell to it. But everything else, I'm sure the lentils were fine. I actually saved some aside and I'm going to cook them up. The wheat berries, I did save some of those, but I put a few in here. And then the rye berries, they smelled sort of odd, and I wasn't sure if that's what rye was supposed to smell like. I wanted to save some, but in the end I ended up putting it in because it was kind of questionable, and I don't know what I'm going to do with rye. I don't have a green mill. So this is starting to melt. Other things you can mix in. You can mix in like the black oil sunflower seeds and other grains you have. It does say in one of the recipes you can put in cornmeal. That's the reason why I didn't feel like it was necessary to worry about how small I was smashing it. I just want to make sure that it is smashed up to make it easier for them to digest it. And I believe the recipe was equal parts, I think I already mentioned this, it was equal parts fat to mix-ins. So I added 2 cups of fat. I am going to add in 2 cups of mix-ins. I'm going to see how it looks. I might add in just a tiny bit more if it seems like it's still a little too wet. One recipe actually called for flour, and I don't know about you, I'm not wasting good flour on my chickens. They're nice to have, but I like to use my flour for other things. Cornmeal. I would have put in cornmeal, but I did have the corn, so I felt like I can save the cornmeal for myself for later. But if I ran out of corn, I would have used the cornmeal because we don't have a big use for cornmeal. It's like my son loves cornbread, but every time I make it, he doesn't like my cornbread. So I haven't found the right recipe yet, is what that tells me. Okay, well in the meantime, what I should do is let's weigh or measure all this out. I hope when they said, you know, 2 parts to 2 parts, they meant by volume and not by weight. This is messy. Okay. 1. Okay, there we go. 2 cups. Now that I have that done, what I would like to do is I would like to spread out the containers I'm going to pour this into. That way, when it's done, I can just pour it directly in. Now you can probably solidify this on your counter, or I think I'm going to get these on a cookie sheet and then I can put them in the fridge. Or the freezer. There you go. That's not too bad. 6 of them fit perfectly on a standard cookie sheet. I feel like this is a pretty versatile recipe. If you had any other like things hanging around, like raisins that were just old and hard, or you know, other fruit, dried fruit that you wanted to get rid of, you could put that in there. Any nuts that are lying around that are starting to, you know, not go bad or not get eaten or on the verge of going bad, those would be worth putting in. I don't know about putting in dried vegetable. I don't know how that would work. I'm assuming it would work about as well as putting in dried fruit, honestly. Okay, I'm going to turn that off. That looks pretty darn good. Still a little bit stuck to the spatula, but I'm sure that will eventually melt off. Okay, let's get this in. see how stiff it is. Wow, that, I don't know if that's what we're looking for. Do we need a little bit more mix-ins? I'm going to put in a little bit more in the mix-ins. I should probably put more corn in, but I don't feel like chopping up more corn. Okay, well there's another half cup. Let's see how that goes. Okay, that looks a little bit better. I can feel it's a little bit thicker, some on the bottom, so I think that'll be fine. Let me get the rest off of there. Okay, I was going to measure how much each of these containers hold, but I didn't do that, so I guess we're about to find out. I believe I should just be able to pour this in. I wonder if I should scoop it in, make sure I get even amounts of mix-ins. Okay. This is a wee bit messy. Okay, looks like we might get 3. That is very smudgy. Okay, 3 it is. Okay, so obviously the stuff's going to sink to the bottom. You're going to have a spot that's going to have mostly the peanut butter and fat, and one spot that's just going to have all of the mix-ins on the bottom. But don't know if there's any way around that. I think the way around that, if it really bothers you, and I might try this next time, would be to wait for the fat to solidify a little bit and then mix everything in, and then I think it'll keep things in suspension a little bit better. So I dripped on those 2. That was fine. So I'll give those a wipe, but I'm just going to let these sit and cool down for a little bit, and then I will try to find a spot for them in the fridge, and we'll give them to chickens and see how they like it. So I just took this out of the fridge. It's pretty hard. Like I thought, everything sank to the bottom. I think I'm going to try this again, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try putting in some, waiting until the fat gets harder. It is really soft. I am actually having trouble getting it out. It's just mostly cracking and not coming out. I might, wonder if I dip that in hot water. Don't know if there's, maybe. Let's see. They say it was easy to make, but it may not be that this is the right recipe for what I want. Oh, maybe, let's see if we can get that out. If I get this out, I'll just go plop it in their feeder and get it out for them. Okay, so I did lose a little bit in there. I think what I'll do is I'll just take a knife and I'll just scrape it out and just stick it on top. But it smells really good. It smells like peanut butter. I'm going to go put it in the feeder and I'll show you how it goes. Otherwise, I think I'm going to give this another try. I will take you along for that because I feel like it worked, but it wasn't a great success, so I think it's worth trying it again and see if I can make it work. So, stay tuned. I'll be right back. So I have a bit of an audience, but I'm going to try to film this and see if I'm successful or not. I just put it back in the tray, but I put it in at a bit of an angle, so I'm just going to try and drop it in the suet feeder. Yep, there we go. So it's a little soft, but... and the other ones were pretty soft too. Yeah. That's pretty much it. So this is the soft one. They seem to enjoy it. I will make another one and I can see if I can get the distribution a little easier on it. I hope the wind isn't a problem, but ooh, it's a cold one today. That's it. They are enjoying it, so, and she is just waiting for her opportunity to hop in. So I got some pretty good settling when I made this first suet block, so I am revisiting this and I'm going to give it a go again. Now the chickens didn't care that the block had settled. They will eat just about anything. If you've had chickens, you know this. I don't have any more lard, but I do have this bacon grease that came with the kit, and it is soft. So I suspect that this time I might be able to just get away with sort of creaming everything together, but I'm going to put it in a pot just in case I need to heat it up. This is super crinkly. I'll just try to mute this as best I can. So this is, as you can see, really soft. Now when it's outside and the temperature is colder, it will be more solid, but it's definitely not going to be as solid as that lard. And in the end, even that lard was pretty soft. Okay, so it's basically going to be the same thing. I think this is about a cup of fat. I'm going to put in pretty much the rest of the peanut butter because I think I used about half the container. Oh, you know what? I used a little bit more than half the container. I don't know if you can see that. But I am just going to put the rest of this in, and then I'm going to put in approximately 2 cups of mix-ins. I did go through and I did more corn this time. So we will see how that goes. I wanted it to be a little more even on the corn to other things. Because I think in the winter, I thought it was good to give them corn in the winter just as a sort of heat boost. So I don't know, maybe I misread something on the internet. It seems like if you try to look something up on the internet, oh, should I do this or that? Or is it possible to do, you get both answers. Yeah, you can do that. No, you shouldn't do that. It's so confusing. But, I mean, give them corn all winter and they've survived. So I don't know. I don't see why you can't give them some corn. I think it's, with everything, it's in moderation. So I give them free feeding on their chicken food, and then I give them sort of scratch as treats. So they're not surviving just on scratch, they're not surviving just on kitchen scraps. They're kind of getting a mix of everything. I give them black soldier fly larvae as well, the dehydrated ones, because I want them to have some protein and make sure they're kind of getting the bugs and things that they would normally eat. I mean, I realize it's winter, they wouldn't normally eat it right now, but... Okay, let me see. I might need to give this a little bit of heat just to soften that peanut butter, but let's see what we got. Maybe after it's all mixed in. That's not bad. Okay, well, let's see what happens when we mix in the mix-ins. I'm going to get a measuring cup so I can measure it. Okay, so I have about 2 cups of fat in here. I'm going to put in 2 cups of corn. I'll do this without spilling. I am totally going to spill. I did try to crack this up small enough that it's not going to cause problems for them, but who knows. Okay, well, 1 cup of corn, and 1 cup of mixed grains and pulses. Okay. Let's see where we're at with that. This is probably the better way to go. I just don't know how well it's going to go into the little containers, but once I get it in the containers and I get it in the fridge, it'll probably be fine. Yeah, see, that is not going to fall out of solution. So if you have to heat up your fat just to get it to combine properly, I would allow it to cool down until it starts getting solidified, but not completely, but it's no longer liquidy, and then add your mix-ins. I think maybe one of the recipes had mentioned that, but the recipe was written poorly because it suggested melting your fat, taking it off the heat, putting your stuff back in, and putting it back on the heat. So maybe I misread it, but that's not going to keep it in solution. You know, suspended. Get some stuff out of the way, and then let's see if we can get this in the containers. Okay, I might need that knife. That's actually why I saved it there. So, oh, I've got some corn here. So it didn't need quite as much extra mix-ins to make it uniform. I feel like that's actually a good amount of fat to stuff ratio. Alright, so I've got 3 of them here. Might need a 4th one. I don't know why, but it looks like there's more in here than last time. So we will just blop it in, spread it with a knife, and see where we go from there. Oh, maybe I can do 3. Alright. Let's get all that goodness out. Alright. So I am going to get this in the fridge and I will allow it to solidify, and then I will probably go and just put one out this afternoon after it has solidified and let them have at it, because they really enjoy these. So yes, because it is more solid, I will need to spread this around. I did have a little bit of trouble getting it out of the container, so if you could probably put the bottom in warm water and that would probably pop it out a lot easier. Or if you really want to, you could probably just spray these with a little bit of oil and they would probably pop out that way easier. But I am just going to go with it because it's for chickens. I don't think they care if a few things stick to the container and I have to scrape it out and stick it on the top. Now some of that could be the peanut butter making it sticky. I think if you wanted to, you could probably just use some sort of fat and a little bit of coconut oil to make it a little more solid. Yeah, there we go. So it did make 3 again. So 2 cups of fat and 2 cups of mix-ins does make 3 of these little containers. There we go. And 1 16-ounce thing of peanut butter makes 2 batches. I would just split the peanut butter in half next time and not even worry about trying to measure a cup. There we go. Okay. As you can see, it is already, like, it's solid enough that I think everything's just going to stay all mixed in just the way it is, and I don't have to worry about anything sinking to the bottom. So this, for me, was definitely the better way to go. If I had to heat up my oil, I would cool it before adding stuff in, and then it would all stay in. So I think I found the winning way to do it. So if you have any recipes for suet that you like to use, let me know below, because I'm sure that there are as many recipes for this as there are people who feed birds. So, you know, let's share and everyone can have something different, because we all have different ingredients in our house and different things we feed our birds. So if you found this video useful, please let me know below, or share it, or give me a like. If you're not subscribed, you should subscribe, because that helps me. I'm still a small channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will have some videos up at the end that you might enjoy, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.